Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
We are weeks away from the start of a new American Congress with a Republican Senate and the largest House GOP majority that we've seen in 90 years. Senator McConnell and I have pledged to focus on the American people's priorities, starting with jobs, and we expect to keep that pledge. This week and next, we're working to complete work on a number of important items. The President thumbed his nose at the American people with his actions on immigration. And the House will make clear today that we are rejecting his unilateral actions. And then the United States Senate should take this bill up and pass it. For the outgoing Senate Democrat majority, to do anything less would be an act of monumental arrogance. The American people elected us to heed their will, and not to bow to the whims of a White House that regards the legislative process established by the Constitution as little more than a nuisance. Next week, the House will work to keep the government open while keeping our leverage so that when we have reinforcements in the Senate, we're in the strongest position to take additional actions to fight the President's unilateral actions. This course of action is based on numerous conversations with our members, and I frankly think it gives us the best chance for success. Yesterday, the House took a simple but powerful step to help individuals with disabilities across the country. The ABLE Act won't just help people with disabilities save more of what they earn. It will help them build stronger lives and a better future. I think this is a wonderful step that we took yesterday. It's been a long time in the making, and I want to thank Andrew Crenshaw and Kathy McMorris Rogers and Pete Sessions, three of our members who dedicated an awful lot of time and effort to this project. We had another opportunity this week to help our economy grow and increase hiring. Unfortunately, the President blocked a bipartisan solution. But instead, the House acted yesterday to prevent tax hikes on small businesses, manufacturers, and hardworking Americans. Lastly, in the new Congress, I would urge the President to submit a new authorization for the use of military force regarding our efforts to defeat and to destroy ISIL. I reminded the President last month that, historically, the Commander-in-Chief has identified the need for the use of military force, written a new AUMF, sent it to Capitol Hill, and worked to build bipartisan support for that measure. I told him if he does that, House Republicans will be ready to work with him to get it approved. And thus far, we've seen no urgency on the part of this White House. The White House needs to show some urgency because the strategy isn't reversing the terrorist momentum on the ground. And I've got grave concerns that the President has put in place, his plan that he's put in place is not going to accomplish the goal of defeating and destroying ISIL. We need a more robust, comprehensive strategy, and that should start with a new authorization of the use of military force.
We've heard from a number of conservatives who aren't pleased with this three-part strategy that you have. You said that you were going to fight the President on immigration tooth and nail. They don't think this is enough. Just how sharp are these teeth and nails?
We think this is the most practical way to fight the President's action. And frankly, we listen to our members. And we listen to some members who are, frankly, griping the most. This was their idea of how to proceed.
Mr. Speaker, is trade promotion authority going to be a priority for House Republicans next year, and is that something you're looking to do quickly?
I've been trying to do trade promotion authority for 3 years. But it's hard to do when the President won't even stand up and ask for it. And I've made clear that not only the President does he have to ask for it, but he has to work to build bipartisan support to get it passed.
Mr. Speaker, why wait until you're really right at the brink of the government shutting down to pass the bill to keep the government running next week? Why not do it this week instead of the vote that you're doing on immigration, which you know is going to have nowhere to go in the Senate?
Listen, the appropriators have a lot of work to do. As you know, the House did most of the appropriation bills. The Senate did none. And as a result, it makes it that much more difficult to come to an agreement with the Senate on an omnibus appropriation package. They're doing good work, but they're not finished yet. It's as simple as that.
Speaker, do you anticipate that you'll need some Democratic votes to
pass the omnibus legislation, and does that give Democrats a role in negotiating on riders on the omnibus?
I expect it will have bipartisan support to pass the omnibus appropriation bill.
Mr. Speaker, will you commit to bringing a bill up at the end of this 60-day period, as the current bill lays out, that strips DHS funding for implementing the executive order? Can you commit to that, and if not, why not?
Well, there are a lot of options on the table, and I'm not going to get into hypotheticals of what we could or couldn't do, but I do know this. Come January, we'll have a Republican House and a Republican Senate, and we'll be in a stronger position to take actions.
Mr. Speaker, the members of the 9/11 Commission say that there's just one of the 40 or so recommendations that they made a decade ago that hasn't been fully implemented, and that is streamlining congressional oversight of Homeland Security. There's something like 100 different committees and subcommittees that have some degree of oversight. Do you have any plans to try to consolidate that oversight for the next Congress?
I've been working on this for about 6 years. And frankly, it should have been done when we set up the Homeland Security Committee, because they don't have, in my view, sufficient jurisdiction to do their job in as strong a way as possible. But as you're well aware, that jurisdiction rests in other committees who aren't interested in giving it up.
So isn't it best to do it between Congresses?
It would, if you can get members to agree.
Mr. Speaker, you talked about griping members, and there's certainly a lot of them, but after this rebuke that you're going to pass today, a lot of members are griping that Republicans don't actually have a great deal of leverage to stop the unilateral action. Are you going to be willing in February or March or whenever it is to basically stop the operations of the rest of Homeland Security in order to force the president to rescind this thing?
As I've made clear, we have limited options in terms of how we can deal with this. But there are options out there, and we're going to continue to pursue those options.
Mr. Speaker, why do you think Republicans are so determined to stop the president from enforcing his immigration order? At the same time, they're willing to let the Affordable Care Act go funded without any interruption.
They're willing to allow what?
Affordable Care Act to be funded without any interruption.
So we have worked and voted and voted and voted to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. It's hurting families, it's raising costs, and it's frankly wrecking the best health care delivery system the world has ever known. And so we've put an awful lot of effort in it. I haven't gotten very far. But again, come January, we're going to have a Republican House and a Republican Senate, and we'll be in a stronger position to deal with not just only the issue of the president violating the Constitution, but in a stronger position to deal with the Affordable Care Act.
Back to shark teeth and such, a few of your members have floated the idea of going after the president's own White House budget, cutting the budget for Air Force One, maybe not inviting him to the State of the Union. Are those options on the table, or do you plan to invite him to the State of the Union?
Listen, the more the president talks about his ideas, the more unpopular he becomes. Why would I want to deprive him of that opportunity?
Speaker Boehner, there's been a lot of social unrest in the country in the last few weeks. Michael Brown and Ferguson, Eric Garner yesterday. What is your reaction to that, and do you support DOJ doing a civil rights investigation into Mr. Garner's death?
Well, clearly, both of these are serious tragedies that we've seen in our society. And I think the American people want to understand more of what the facts were. There are a lot of unanswered questions that Americans have, and frankly, I have. And so whether it's the Department of Justice, whether my colleague Kathy McMorris Rogers earlier today suggested that there may need to be hearings, I'm not going to rule that in or out, but I do think that the American people deserve more answers about what really happened here and was our system of justice handled properly.
You're sending your members home today. Do you foresee any changes next week on this emerging package that you seem hopeful about? To fund the government? And do you foresee any more changes to that to appease your friends?
No, I think we've laid out a reasonable course of action suggested by our members. We did a lot of listening. You know, this didn't just happen overnight. Didn't just wake up and have this idea in my head. We worked with an awful lot of our members, and frankly, I'm pretty comfortable with where we are. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, the defense authorization bill was just posted online. It is 1,648 pages. Have you read that bill?
I've been through almost every part of that bill as it was being put together. So trust me, I'm well aware of what's in that bill.
Mr. Speaker, there are a number of sunset laws that are going to expire at the end of the year, such as TRIA and the chemical safety regulations, and also the Internet Access Tax moratorium. Is there an attempt to try to get those sustained during the new year?
Of course there's an attempt, and I'm confident that all of those will be resolved. Yes, sir. Last one.
Mr. Speaker, you said in your comments that you have grave concerns about the president's strategy against the Islamic State, that perhaps a more robust strategy is necessary. Do you now believe, sir, that any new authorizations for use of force should include American troops on the ground leading that fight?
I'm not going to speculate on what the president should suggest to the Congress in terms of what that authorization should look like. But I do believe that a more comprehensive, robust strategy is certainly in order if we're going to defeat and to destroy ISIL. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.